welcome to Sea Ravers PEW 2020 mode where we'll be playing as Jim Crockett Promotions back in 1985. It is January 1985. This is going to be our first episode where we will be booking World Championship Wrestling coming to you as part of Jim Crockett Promotions. We will be having several shows a week. Our main show is World Championship Wrestling, which airs on Saturday night, but as you can see, we actually tape these on Tuesday night. So we are at a TV taping, which will be broadcast on Saturday night. So we are beginning the show off, as you can see. As the show starts, we're hyping our newest addition to Jim Crockett Promotions. We have signed the Road Warriors, and a music video is shown to promote their upcoming appearances on Jim Crockett Promotions and World Championship Wrestling on Saturday night. As you can see, while the announcing quality lifted the segment, the lack of anything interesting really became a problem for this segment. Again, the Road Warriors are going to be our first. This is our first introduction to them here in Jim Crockett Promotions. So they haven't arrived yet, but we got the video shown to the crowd and to the folks at home, letting us know what to expect from the tag team. As you can see, we're in front of 1,000 people at the Justice Center in Atlanta, Georgia. Let's see what the dirt sheet had to say about this particular segment. We did get a rating bonus from good announcing, and we got a bonus from the road agent work of Dusty Rhodes. So not an overly exciting segment with a rating of 36, but we'll see what happens and see if we can build up from here. We got slightly a bit higher in our next match, in our first match of the night. We're seeing Ricky Steamboat against Wahoo McDaniel, and this match was for the United States Heavyweight Championship. In a bout that had great heat and decent wrestling, Ricky Steamboat defeated Wahoo McDaniel in 10 minutes and 24 seconds when Wahoo McDaniel intentionally got counted out. So it looks like Wahoo McDaniel, in an effort to save his title, got counted out on purpose. So as we can see, Wahoo McDaniel had an in-ring performance of 41, Ricky Steamboat had an in-ring performance of 53, and a storyline started between Ricky Steamboat and Wahoo McDaniels. Our announcing quality lifted the match, and it says that Ricky Steamboat and Wahoo McDaniel don't seem to click, and it made for an awkward bout, which is going to be interesting since we're starting a segment between these, or a storyline between these two. So hopefully they can get that worked out. What does the dirt sheet have to say? Wahoo got a bonus for good momentum and charisma. Ricky Steamboat got a bonus for selling and charisma and star quality, and for being an amazing babyface. It looks like PEW 2020 really loves our announced team of David Crockett and Tony Schiavone. And we got some bonus for refereeing for old Randy Anderson there. Wahoo McDaniel got penalized for an awful gimmick, and Wahoo was penalized for declining physical ability. He's a bit older. We got a penalty for not having worker chemistry, and Steamboat also gets knocked for having an awful gimmick. So interesting there. And both guys got knocked for having low locker room morale. So apparently Jim Crockett Promotions is not having anything great. And then also what seems like it could be a bug here says the segment was penalized due to the lack of an associated storyline. But as you can see, this storyline started. So not sure why we got dinged for not having a storyline. So let's see what happens in our next segment. And Ricky Steamboat has come over to the commentary desk, over to our area, our interview area, and is talking with Tony, and says, "Tony, you saw what happened earlier tonight. I had Wahoo McDaniel beat. He rolled out of the ring and got counted out on purpose. I should be the United States champion, but that no good Wahoo acted like a coward. I want a rematch for the title." So we'll have to see if the Crockett's will ultimately give Steamboat a rematch. It seems like he ought to get one, given that Wahoo got counted out on purpose and the title couldn't change hands, even though Steamboat was able to pick up a win. And in our next matchup, we see Terry Funk versus Magnum TA. And it says here, in a superb match, Magnum TA defeated Terry Funk in 10 minutes and 24 seconds by pin with a belly-to-belly suplex. Magnum TA had an in-ring performance of 53. Funk had an in-ring performance of 66. And Magnum TA was really off his game. So it says here that Magnum was not on his game tonight for some reason. But again, our announcing quality, our team, they deserve a bonus of Tony Schiavone and David Crockett got lifted the match here. Magnum TA got lots of bonuses for a great gimmick and being a great babyface. Terry Funk was a bonus for being well suited to the style of the match. And both guys got good selling and good charisma. Funk has a legendary gimmick, lots of bonuses, and then we got dinged again because our locker room has low morale. Penalized for booking decisions, not sure what that's due to, and again, penalized due to the lack of an associated storyline. So we've still got a 49. Not too worried about that though. Here we're just trying to put on a good show and get started here. Try to get some storylines underway in our very first episode. And then our next segment is Magnum TA. It looks like he also, if you recall back when in 1980s wrestling, in between about every match on Saturday night, the guys had some kind of an interview over on the interview panel. So we're going to see a lot of interview segments in between matches on this particular episode, on this particular series. So again, David Crockett this time says, joining us now is your winner, Magnum TA. Magnum says, first I want to say thanks to Terry Funk. That was one heck of a match. After beating Funk, I should be next in line to challenge Tully Blanchard for the NWA Television Championship. It's about time that we had someone wearing that title that we can all be proud of. Blanchard, you know you are a no good cheat. You're yellow, you got no spine. If you face me, I'm going to take that title away from you. I'm more of a man than you'll ever be, and once I win, I'll face anyone, anytime. I won't be hiding behind the office or my manager. I'll be fighting like a man. So Tully, I want an answer next week. Tell me when you'll give me a shot at that title. So it looks like Magnum TA is laying down a challenge to the television champion, Tully Blanchard. In our segment, we get a storyline starting here this time between Magnum and Tully. And again, the announcing quality lifted the segment. Nothing interesting happened, so we got a ding here. But the angle did get the crowd hotter, so the crowd really loves Magnum TA, even if the critics did not. So Magnum TA got lots of bonuses here. We also got a bonus from James J. Dillon. And again, our low locker room morale keeps dinging every single segment, so we'll have to see how we can lift the locker room morale in between shows if that's even possible. Up next, in another match that had good heat and decent wrestling, Crusher Khrushchev defeated Ron Garvin in 10 minutes by pinfall with a running clothesline after a distraction from Ivan Koloff. That no good Koloff got involved and distracted Garvin, allowing Khrushchev to pick up the win. Khrushchev had an in-ring performance of 46. Ron Garvin had an in-ring performance of 48. And the Russians versus Starship and Garvin storyline has started with this segment. So we'll have to see what role Starship has in this segment moving forward. Not sure. We didn't see them tonight. So let's see what the dirt sheets had to say. Khrushchev got a bonus for a legendary gimmick. I don't know that I would call that gimmick legendary, but as it is. Ron Garvin also has a legendary gimmick. Let's see. Yep, and we got dinged again for low locker room morale. So we're really going to have to fix that. And apparently, PW 2020 doesn't give you credit for starting a storyline, and it dings you for not having one already. So halfway through the show, I've had two good matches so far. Not really high ratings, but we'll see what comes up next. Oh, in a terribly rated segment of 23. Midnight Express have attacked the Rock and Roll Express backstage and leave them for Down and Out, which is going to be a huge problem because our very next match is the Rock and Roll Express versus the Andersons for the #1 contender spot for the NWA Tag Team Championship. So have to see how that plays into the next match. But Dennis Condrey has debuted his old school gimmick as well as Bobby Eaton. And we started the storyline between the two Expresses. Robert Gibson and Ricky Morton also debuted their old school face. Apparently, Eaton and Morton did not get over with the crowd, while Gibson and Condrey did get over at least to some degree. Let's see, James J. Dillon was the booker for this segment, or the road agent, I should say. And again, we are all dinged again at the low locker room morale. So, as I mentioned, our next segment is a match between the Rock and Roll Express and the Andersons. So they probably are not walking in feeling great into that match. Jim Cornette and Dennis Condrey and Bobby Eaton will be fighting for the opportunity to fight. I'm sure Rock and Roll Express will want an opportunity to get back at the Midnight Express in what was one of the most heated rivalries of all time. So it looks like we're getting kicked off here on Jim Crockett Promotions with the Express battles, and let's see where we go from here. Next segment, as we said, the Minnesota Wrecking Crew is facing the Rock and Roll Express. In a decent match, the Minnesota Wrecking Crew defeated Rock and Roll Express in 19 minutes and 44 seconds when Arn Anderson pinned Robert Gibson. Arn Anderson sustained a buttock contusion. So, Arn Anderson has a bruise on his butt. We'll have to see what happens there. Ole Anderson had an in-ring performance of 51. Arn only had a 43. Robert and Ricky both in the 47-54 there. Ricky Morton and Robert Gibson had great chemistry. The announcing lifted this match, and Ricky and Robert are getting better at their gimmicks. Considering that they're still doing their gimmick today, you'd think that they would get pretty good at it. Lots of bonuses for selling, going all out. Lots of going all outs here. Any negatives? You'd think with all these bonuses we'd have a higher rating, but our low locker room morale and some inconsistency there. Ole Anderson is getting dinged for decline in physical ability. Some dings for low. Got dinged for having an injury and no storyline. So hopefully in our next show we'll get some ratings up because we've got storylines that have started in this particular segment or in this particular show. So Ivan Koloff is letting us know that Arn Anderson got a butt contusion in this match. Thanks, Ivan. We just read that. And up next is a segment featuring Ric Flair. Ric Flair is out with Tony Schiavone and David Crockett before his match. And Tony, we've got the world's heavyweight champion with us. It's none other than the Nature Boy, Ric Flair. Ric Flair gets on the mic and says, Tony, tonight David and his family have done it again. They are putting me, the Nature Boy, in a match against that fat, out-of-shape Dusty Rhodes. There's no denying he's good, but look at me, Tony. I'm styling and profiling. Woo! I'm custom made from head to toe. I've got shoes that cost more than that beat-down trailer Dusty Rhodes calls home. If he thinks for 1 second he can beat me, then he's got another thing coming. I'm the world's heavyweight champion, and this belt isn't going anywhere. So Dusty, prepare to get another loss tonight against the Nature Boy. Woo! And if you don't like it, you better learn to love it because it's the best thing going today. Woo! So big segment there from Ric Flair. Great promo. What a segment rating. We haven't seen anything out of the 40s, but that segment got an 86. At the announcing desk, David Crockett was pretty weak. All night long he's been pretty good, but it looks like David Crockett does not like interviewing Ric Flair, and it deserved better color commentary. So, David Crockett, you should have done better, but the angle got the crowd hotter, which it should, because coming up next is our main event. Of course, Flair got a bonus for a legendary gimmick and good momentum and being an amazing heel. Dusty Rhodes was the road agent. Ric Flair was penalized for low locker room morale, and again penalized for David Crockett's performance. And it was limited for being short. So even though it was 7 minutes, they did not like that it was short. So now it's time for the main event where we're going to see Ric Flair versus Dusty Rhodes in a match in the main event here tonight between two of the greats of all time in the NWA. So let's see how it rated in terms of segment rating. Oh gosh, only a 54. Don't know what else you have to have a better match than Dusty Rhodes and Ric Flair on a Saturday night, but it got a score of low. So in an exceptional match that only scores a 54 in a segment rating, I don't understand how they come up with the ratings, but we'll figure it out. Dusty Rhodes defeated Ric Flair in 30 minutes when Ric Flair submitted Dusty Rhodes only for the previously unconscious referee to recover and reverse the decision because Ric Flair had been disqualified. So what happened in this match is Ric Flair was arguing with the referee and knocked out the referee intentionally when the referee wasn't looking. Another referee came down and made the call when Ric Flair submitted Dusty Rhodes. However, the original referee seems to have reversed the decision and allows Dusty Rhodes to pick up the win over the NWA World Heavyweight Champion. Ric Flair had an in-ring performance of 72. Dusty only had an in-ring performance of 58. And the Symbol of Excellence storyline started. So we'll have to see what the Symbol of Excellence storyline has in store for us. But in this particular match, Ric Flair loses. The champion loses to Ric Flair after being disqualified. So let's see what the old dirt sheet has to say. Dusty Rhodes got a bonus for selling, being an amazing babyface. Ric Flair got a bonus for being heel. Tommy Young, world-class referee, and got a bonus, as well as James Day Dillon for being the road agent. And done to a hot crowd. But that low locker room morale keeps dinging us, and looks like they held back a little bit, which, of course, it's a Saturday night. It's not a big show. So you wouldn't expect Ric Flair and Dusty to put on the best match that we've ever seen between those two. But that was our main event, and we've got one more segment. Oh my gosh, and let's see what happened. After Dusty Rhodes wins to disqualification, Ric Flair was upset and attacked Dusty Rhodes. Rhodes gets the upper hand as Rhodes and Flair battle. Arn Anderson, Ole Anderson, and Tully Blanchard run down to the ring and attack Dusty Rhodes. Arn and Ole take Rhodes down to the mat. Tully Blanchard grabs a chair and hits Dusty Rhodes' knee multiple times with it. So they are attacking Dusty Rhodes' leg, it looks like. Flair grabs the chair. He climbs to the top rope. No, Flair, don't do it. Ole and Arn hold Dusty down. They stretch out that leg. Flair drops the chair across Dusty's knee. Flair locks in the figure four. Meanwhile, wrestlers from the back come out and try to stop the attack. Arn, Ole, and Tully fight off the wrestlers. Flair keeps the figure four locked in as the show goes off the air. We'll have to see what kind of damage they have done to Dusty Rhodes, but it looks like our first appearance from the Four Horsemen. Is that what the Symbol of Excellence storyline has done? It looks like it has advanced, but it lost some heat. Says nothing interesting happened in this segment, and that was a problem. I don't know how you would say that nothing happened. But the Four Horsemen look to have formed in our main event, attacking Dusty Rhodes and taking him out. Wrestlers from the back came out and tried to stop it, but we don't know what happened after the show went off the air. So we will have to tune back in next week to see what happened. How is Dusty Rhodes, and what is his current status? So let's see what happened with the dirt sheet. We got high morale for Dusty. Flair got good momentum. Lots of good bonuses there. The segment was boosted because of the storyline's high heat, but we lost some segment there, some heat. And everybody got dinged again for low locker room morale. So we're going to have to work on our locker room morale. I don't know exactly what I need to do to make that happen, but I will figure that out and try to work on that before now and the next episode. So we're going to go ahead and finish this show for this particular episode and see what happens. So you can see our show increased our popularity in 10 regions, which is always a good thing. And Arn Anderson was used too much. So he was in 2 segments. Apparently he only needs to be in 1. And our show appeared worse because our music production is slightly worse than at least one of our rivals. So we will work on our music production in between shows here. Our highest rated segment was the Flair pre-match interview by a ton. And then our only other really decent segment was the Dusty Rhodes versus Flair match. People really did not like the Rock and Roll Express getting beaten down by the Midnight Express, which led to a low match there with Minnesota Wrecking Crew. So we're going to finish the show and see what happens here. So as we're finishing, I just want to say to you all, make sure if you like this episode, you go ahead and click the subscribe button. Share this video out via Twitter. You can follow me on Twitter as well if you haven't already done so. My Twitter will be linked in the description below, but that's just C. Raver Gaming at Twitter. Make sure you give us a subscribe, give us a thumbs up if you like what you're watching. We will be trying to have one of these at least once per week coming out on Saturdays for Saturday night. The next episode will recap what happened at our two house shows in between. But for this particular show, we are just getting started. So you can see we are in 1985. We are on Wednesday of the first week of January. We will have two house shows coming up this weekend on Friday and Saturday night, as well as another TV taping next Tuesday. So next episode, we will have three big shows included into this. So let's go ahead before we close out this episode. One, see what kind of emails we got. So lots of folks getting offers, if you recall. Back in the day in 80s, wrestlers did not typically sign exclusive contracts, so several folks are getting offers. WWF, however, has made a contract offer to Terry Funk. That's one we're going to have to watch out because Terry Funk, if he signs with WWF, most likely it will be an exclusive contract and he will no longer be working on our roster. As well as WWF are trying to steal Ricky Steamboat from him. Championship Wrestling has also, or the CWA Mid-Atlantic has also reached out to Ricky Steamboat, as well as Terry Funk. Dick Slater got one from CWA PNW. So Terry Funk looks like he is in demand. James J. Dillon gets an offer. Manny Fernandez gets an offer. And last night did a 2.42 TV rating with 350,000 viewers. Lots of folks didn't have cable back then, so that's not surprising. East Coast Wrestling has given lots of offers here. They're part of the NWA, so nothing too worried about there. Got an injury update about Anderson's butt problems. Dusty Rhodes is feeling the effects of a recent schedule, and he wants to take that into account when booking him so that he can have time to recover properly. So we need to probably give him a week off next week. TBS is not happy with the quality of last night's World Championship Wrestling. He said it did not meet their minimum requirements. I'm not too terribly worried about that. Hopefully they won't kick us off the air and we'll get more segments. Ron Garvin was by the World Wrestling Council, MSW, have moved their music level up, and Ric Flair has signed a one night only with CSW. So he's going to make an appearance, which can only help us there. So we're going to delete all of those emails. And with that, again, I hope you enjoyed this episode. Please give us a subscribe, give us a comment, let us know what you'd like to see as we move forward in this series where we're focusing on the NWA back in 1985. Focusing on Jim Crockett Promotions and running that particular promotion. So, exciting night tonight with Ric Flair forming the Four Horsemen and Ricky Steamboat Magnum TA laying out challenges for the championships, as well as the Andersons have been determined the number one contenders for the NWA Championship, Tag Team Championships held currently by Dusty Rhodes and Manny Fernandez, who we did not see on tonight's show. So we'll have to see what we get for next week. Ric Flair and Dusty Rhodes are also part of a storyline where it seems like Dusty may be in line to challenge for that World Championship. So we're just going to have to see where we go from here. Make sure you come back with us and look for another episode next Saturday when we will have launched episode 2. If we do not, potentially I may get it out before then, but the plan is every Saturday to release an episode for World Championship Wrestling on Saturday night. We appreciate you joining. Please make sure to give us a thumbs up, click that bell for notifications, and subscribe, so we appreciate it. And that is C Ravers Gaming out for this week. Thank you for watching.